Light trips, the aisle where we've been told to line up and wait for instructions. Someone screams and there's no second scream because there's no second of him left to scream with. The statue that fired. Stone face, blank eyes harp in its arms. Goes still again like a judge who already stamped the file and moved on. I am flat to the floor before my mind catches up with my body. Face against cold tile, cheek stinging, the taste of grit like a mouthful of coins. Down, I hear myself shout. Face down. Don't look up. Some do. Most don't. The ones who do try to stand. 2 men and a woman whose boots squeak from panic are cut in half by a single sweep of white. The beam doesn't burn as much as it subtracts. It erases. It has the bore deficiency of a city clerk. Ju Hee's hand crushes my wrist, nails bright crescent moons in my skin. Jianwu, she breathes. I feel her tremble through my jacket. She is a healer, B- rank, usually a steady heat behind me. Right now she's ice. Don't move, I whisper. Don't move. Across the hall the door we came through has finished closing. No latch, no hinge noise. Just stone kissing stone for the last time. If there's going to be an exit, it won't be the way we came. We are in a cathedral of enemies. Columns like bundled spears, a nave long enough to stack buses nose to tail, a dome where the ceiling disappears into its own darkness. On both sides of the aisle, pedestals hold statues, some carry swords, some carry instruments, some have both hands joined in prayer, and all of them are turned toward a throne at the far end of the hall. The one on the throne is the only one that isn't life minus size. It's life minus plus. 10 men tall, hooded, faceless. God, if God were charcoal and angles. Behind the throne, a wall of black stone the size of a rooftop billboard. 3 lines are carved into it, each line inlaid with something that catches torchlight like water catches sun. The lines were dead when we entered. Now they glow the color of an old bruise. Commandment 1, worship God. Commandment 2, praise God. Commandment 3, prove your faith. Mr. Song is alive. I can tell by the way his hand, old, scarred, missing the tip of one finger, presses my shoulder blade as he crawls by. Stay put, he murmurs. His voice is the same voice he used in the elevator up when he told a joke about knees and age. Except now the humor is a thin membrane laid over panic. Don't give them motion. Mr. Kim and Mr. Park are alive too, or at least their voices are. They are on my left somewhere, between a broken spear and a broken man, breathing to fast. Mr. Kim's wife is pregnant with their sect, and he told me that while we were signing the consent forms and the association guy was pretending not to hear. Mr. Park said there's nothing like a safe raid to fill a hunter's pockets. This is not safe. A minute passes the length of a year. Another beam fires and cuts stone from column, gouging a trench. The statue wasn't aiming at us that time. It was trimming its own garden. The sound of the beam is not a sound so much as a subtraction of sound. It's what a scream would be if you could reverse it and make it wallow itself back down. I know what I am, a -rank hunter. The title clings like a label someone wrote with a black marker in my forehead. People assume they know the whole of me because of it, a man with slightly better healing than the average citizen. A man who gets tired slower and scars uglier. A man who is here to split the pay with his betters and shut up while doing it. They are not wrong. If the association didn't help cover my mother's bills, I'd have quit 2 years ago. If I could pay for my sister's tuition with a smile, I'd be home smiling until my face hurt. If today is one more if that keeps me breathing. The beam doesn't fire again. The statues wait, so we wait. Eventually, survival wants a shape to wear. Waiting can be a shape. Obedience can be a shape. Prayer can too. Worship, Mr. Song says. He is not speaking to me. He is addressing the floor, the air. Commandment 1. He takes a breath through his nose, lets it out, and very slowly pushes himself up to his knees. My body rebels at the motion because up is where the beams are, but the words on the wall are a gravity of their own. Worship. I have not worshipped anything since I was a child and thought vending machines were benevolent gods who loved my coins. But I know what kneeling is and I know what it says. I follow him. All down the line, bodies rise from flat to folded. Someone sobs. Someone else mutters apologies to a god they have not named, hoping that any god will answer to any name in an emergency. Nothing happens. Melby. The statue's faces tilt almost imperceptibly toward the throne. Bows, Mr. Song says. Hands. We press our foreheads to our knuckles. The floor is cold and tastes like old pennies again, or maybe that's just the iron in my mouth from biting my tongue. At the edges of my sight, torches bloom in their sconces one by one, as if some unseen acolyte has decided we are worth seeing better before the end. The first line of the wall dims. The second brightens. Praise God. Anyone can kneel. Praise is specific, and specificity is where minds fracture. Who's God? How? What counts? Mr. Park has an idea before the rest of us. He sees the statues with instruments and takes off for them, low and quick, still on his knees, as if that will make him less appetizing. He is a D- rank, muscles like cable rope under his jacket, but today he moves like someone who has decided to live by being small. He reaches the nearest lyre and raises his hand toward the strings. Another statue, 3 pedestals down, pivots its blank face toward him and raises the sword in its stone fist. Don't. I hear myself too late. The sword falls. Not a beam, not a subtraction. Just the old elegant arithmetic of blade and bone. He gurgles and goes still. For a moment, no one moves. Praise feels like a trap now. Everything feels like a trap. Then Ju, he speaks. Her voice is a whisper shaped like a decision. Maybe they play, she says. Not us. Mr. Song nods, and his mouth tightens in a way that says he is about to do something that will cost him. Everyone back, he tells us. Leave the instruments clear. We do. We make a road of empty space as if the statues can read lanes. The statue with the lyre raises its arm and draws the stone plectrum across stone strings. The note is a bell rung underwater. Another statue joins with a flute, then a drum, then a horn. A choir of stone breathes, and the hall becomes sound. I don't know where to put my hands. Praise, the wall said. Worship was kneeling. Praise is hearing, accepting, raising your voice to meet what is greater than you whether it loves you or not. So I say, thank you, as quiet as a slit of paper. I say it to the same anonymous sky. I have sworn it on subway platforms at 2 in the morning. I say it to buying race, to the month we got 2 months covered by a scholarship, to breathing though my chest feels like someone lined it with glass. Thank you, I say again louder. Others pick it up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not in unison, not beautiful, but alive. The music grows, and while it grows, the statues with swords remain statues. The second line on the wall dims. The third sharpens to the old bruised color. Prove your faith. My throat goes dry, so fast it burns. Prove is a knife of a word. Prove is not kneel, not sing. Prove asks for math. Prove asks for blood. The floor shivers. In the center aisle, a circular platform lifts, stone rubbing stone, until its top is level with my knees. On it, a shallow bowl burns with blue fire, the kind of color that feels colder the longer you look. Around the bowl, etched into the platform, 30-6 runes glow faintly. Tiny fishbone scratches of light. A band of text rings the fire, those same 3 lines again, split and braided into one sentence I can't quite read. Beside the platform, a nude door appears in the wall. It is not a door shaped like a door. It is simply an absence of stone where stone used to be, a rectangle of dark, so pure it seems painted. Beyond, it is some other darkness, not ours. Careful, Mr. Song says, as if the word were a bandage he can throw from here to there. A man I barely know. C- rank, spare user, cheeks always to read. Can't take the stress of words anymore. He bolts for the new opening. He gets 3 strides in and stops dead because a blade the size of a street's Ein comes out of the dark and takes his leg just above the knee. He collapses, screaming, and his screams have a rhythm like the drum the statue played, which feels like a joke the hall is telling us. I move without planning it. Not all bravery is planned, sometimes the body starts a sentence the mind has to finish. I get to him and wrap my belt around his thigh, the leather sliding through my fingers. Heat slick, not again. Ju-hee is there with me, hands steady the way a pilot's hands are in documentaries, the way a mother's hands are when the baby latches right at last. She flashes healing through him and the bleeding slows, goes from hose to faucet to stubborn drip. His face goes from purple to gray to wet. He will live if we get him out soon. Prove, Mr. Song murmurs again. He isn't talking to the wall. He is talking to the shape of the task the hall has set us. Fire, runes, door. Time, I say, because I see it now. Each rune's light is not steady. It's a wick. The first winks out as I watch, then the second as if the fire is choosing them like a parent choosing names here, then here, then here. 30-6. A minute each? 10 seconds each? The hall will not tell us. The hall will use our guesses against us. I look up to the throne. The hooded face stares at nothing, or everything, or me, the way a painting can follow you with eyes that aren't eyes. Faith means staying, I say. The words surprise me not because I don't believe them, but because they sound like something a better man than me would say on the day he dies well. When the last rune goes out, we have to still be here. It's telling us that faith is not starting. It's finishing. How many? Mr. Kim asks. His voice shakes inside its own bones. How many of us have to stay? I think of the door, I think of the blade in the dark, I think of the way the torches flared when we knelt and the way music flared when we thanked. I think of the way the hall seems to like symmetry, the way old poems like it. I look at the runes around the fire. 6, I say, before I can talk myself into saying a smaller number. 1 for each circle of runes. 6 points around the bowl. The hall doesn't confirm. It doesn't deny. We choose anyway. Mr. Song stands and rolls his shoulder as if loosening a tie. His mouth makes that tight line again. I'll take one, he says. Me too, I say. The words are not noble. They are practical. If I'm going to be near the front of the story that kills me, I want to choose my spot in the line. 3 more step forward. A woman with scarring across her scalp from some old burn. A man whose hands never stop moving unless he holds something. And a tank I've never spoken to who looks like a bridge with legs. That makes 5. The 6th should be Ju-hee. She looks like she's about to say so. No, I tell her, too fast. You need to keep him breathing. I nod at the man with the built tourniquet. And you need to be the one who runs if we fail. She hates the logic because it's right. She nods anyway. We take our places, 6 points on a circle. The fire licks the shallow bowl and makes no smoke. It makes a feeling instead as if I have swallowed ice and it has turned 2 birds in my stomach. A room goes dark. 30-5. Eyes, I say. We have to look. If we look away, the pedestal nearest me shifts by the width of a coin closer to the bowl. I feel it through the soles of my boots. The others feel theirs and swear softly. It moves. I finish uselessly. We look. At first, faith is easy. The fire is a simple thing to watch. It dances without pattern, which makes it a pattern. 30-4, 30-3, 30-2. The air in the hall has temperature again. Voices come back in under their breath versions. The statues play a phrase that might be praise or might be mockery, and then quiet. My neck burns, not from heat but from the fix of holding any position too long, the way school children burn while pretending they love attention. 30. People begin to move around us. Some go to the door even after what it did. They are careful because the door teaches carefully. They inch and test and throw a broken spear into the dark to watch where the blade takes it. It takes it from the left, then the right, then not at all. The door has moods. It is not a machine, it is a will, and its will enjoys seeing us think. 20-7. The cry. One of the 6 made the mistake of looking toward the sound, and his pedestal jumps 3 inches, and the fire flashes taller in a quick, cruel laugh. He wrenches his gaze back and breathes the way you breathe when you've dropped something expensive and you're waiting to see if it breaks. 20-4. My eyes water. The world beyond the bowl fuzz essence swims. I can hear my pulse in my teeth. A flicker at the edge of vision is a living thing, a bird or a human, and I do not look at it. A healer's hand presses my back between my shoulder blades for a second, cool through my shirt. A benediction. 20-1. Someone decides they can solve the door by timing it. They cannot. I listen to math happen badly and end in a scream. The hall does not notice. The hall has all the screams it needs. 19. Mr. Song says low, like we are in a library we desperately want to keep breathing 4s. In 2, 3, 4. Out 2, 3, 4. It helps. It gives the room counts a rhythm my body can wear. 16. 15. The blue of the fire has varieties to it. This blue is the inside of a glacier. This blue is the edge of laundry left too long under forest and tests. This blue is the point of a knife you laid on your tongue as a joke once in an alley and did not bleed because you learned you liked surviving more than you liked attention. 13. My vision tunnels. The bowl is everything. The world is a circle of cold with lines of light that wink out to teach your heart about endings. 12. Someone touches my elbow and my body jerks because fear is a muscle harder to train than legs. I know it was Juhi without looking because the touch leaves cool behind it. And because fear makes you greedy for comfort you recognize and greed learns quickly. Don't die, she says, somewhere to my left. It is a ridiculous request. It is the only one that matters. Tim. The hall gets louder because the mind does things when it is losing, and one of the things it does is turn up memories volume. I hear my mother ask me if I've eaten. I hear my sister cry on graduation day when her parents take pictures with flowers, and we take pictures with cafeteria light. I hear a door slam in a building I haven't lived in for years, and I hear the coin minus bright laugh of a boy who used to want to be stronger than me and now is. 9. Mr. Kim starts spraying out loud. I don't know the names he uses. They are not mine. But I like the way he puts effort into his vowels, the way sometimes people do when they are bending their life into a shape they like better. 7. A new thing happens. The statue on the throne moves. Not much. Just enough for the hood to add a new angle to the nothing where a face might be. Just enough for my blood to learn a new temperature. The pedestal under my boots hums and my ankles ache from wanting to run very far and very fast in a direction that floors do not provide. 6. One of the 6 cries, I can't, and steps back. His pedestal knifes toward the bowl and he yelps and jumps forward again, stubbing his toe on stone. He is sobbing now. He is also holding his eyes with a fists minus clenched discipline that makes me want to write his name on a wall somewhere and wreath it with cheap plastic flowers. 5. Almost Mr. Song says. It is a lie, and it is true. Every moment is both when your world shrinks to the size of a bowl of cold fire. 4. The statues with instruments lower their hands. The silence they leave is saintly and smug. 3. I cannot feel my feet. 2. I can feel everything that ever hurt me. I can feel the moment I realized my father wouldn't be there again. I can feel a winter we lived from rice to rice. I can feel the first time a cup closed on its own too fast, and I realized I was not normal and the way my teenage head made that a magic trick instead of a warning. 1. The last room right of center gutter. Hold, Mr. Song orders like he is a streeteltwite and we are traffic. And dies. The fire goes out. The platform under us sinks a finger width, as if the hole nods. The nude or breathes out warm air once like someone laughs softly on the other side. No blade comes. Don't move, I say automatically. I still locked on the memory of blue. Don't move, Mr. Song echoes, because his instincts live where mine live, and they are brothers. We count breaths. At 10, I risk a blink. Tears crawl out of my eyelashes and hang. The bowl is a mirror now, showing me my face puckered into a concentration I have never let anyone see. The pedestals do not shift. The wall sloughs its glow off, black stone again, 3 commandments back to the quiet of text you could pretend is just history. No one cheers. Cheering would break the thin film of safety that has settled over the bowl and the 6 of us. Instead, there is a sound like deflated lungs remembering our collective human release. Door, Mr. Song says. This time we send a stone spear into the dark and it clatter est in mil wide as if it hit the back of a truck. No blades, no subtraction. The hall has done asking. It has moved on to allowing. We build a stretcher for the man we saved with my belt. We carry him low, fingers white, legs shaking, but less hue and disaster than we were 5 minutes ago. Juhi walks next to me with a hand hovering over the roux and meat of his thigh impulses warmth into him in thin threads like ivy line drip she can make more of if she needs to. I go last of the 6 to step through the door. A part of me wants to stay and take a souvenir. The cool bowl, a rune, a shard of pedestal, to prove to the cynical later that faith made math today. But the hall would see that as disrespect, and disrespect is a sin punishable by story. Beyond the door is a short corridor that smells like old rain. It opens into a chamber smaller than the hall, blank stone except for a pedestal. On the pedestal sits a box the size of a microwave. It's wooden brass and inlaid with a pattern like subway maps struggled and married. There is no lock. There is a little sign that is not a sign so much as an idea of a sign take. Mr. Song looks at me. I look back. It is the look of men who don't particularly want to be men, but are where they are, and that sometimes being one is taking the box and being the person whose shoulder will have a target painted on it later. I take the box. It is lighter than it looks, which I distrust. Jew, he raises her eyebrows. I shrug. Somebody had to. Behind us, the hall settles the way old buildings do when a bus goes by. The statues don't follow. The torches don't gutter. The door doesn't close. We walk. It is a long walk back, but time has new edges. We step through the first chamber, and the only sign that we were ever in danger is the corpses. We leave in neat rows along the side where we put them so we wouldn't have to step on the dead every time we had to step around them. Death has become furniture we make space for. We arrange it the way decent people do. At the first door, the actual door that is a door, hinges and all, we stop. Somewhere on the other side, the association's men will be tallying our coins before we turn them in. The guilds will be sniffing for profit, and the world will be one more day older without knowing we were almost a line in a newspaper in 8-point font. Ready? Mr. Song asks. No, I say. Good, he says. Me neither. We push. The corridor beyond is empty, and the way train stations are empty at 3 in the morning. There is always the possibility that someone is watching the empty and thinking something about it. The box under my arm hums once, a vibration through brass as if telling me its name. I decide I won't learn it yet. Names are power, and I have lived my life with borrowed power long enough. At the end of the corridor we see light, the friendly hospital kind, ugly and trustworthy. We step into it like a bath of cheap gin. And stop. Because there, in front of the association, Ape and the board men with their clipboards and the girl in a beanie taking pictures for her blog like this is a street festival, the floor has split like bread. From the split, the second gate flowers up not like a wound, but like a decision. It is the same shape as the first, a black mirror, a gravity where a wall should be. But this one's wet scold into the air and whispers a sound like engines too far underground to care about you. Someone says double. Someone else says run. But I am already moving toward it because the math is simple. The hall let us leave, and the hall left us a door to walk into next. 1 task is a chain you can break. 3 is a braid. You can tug one strand and the other to pull your life back into knots. I turn and hold the box out to Mr. Song. Take it, I say. If we die in there, someone should have a reason. He looks like he wants to argue, then looks at me, then looks at Juhi, who is the kind of reason men use when they plan to come home on purpose. He takes the box. I breathe once and let it out and step. This gate's light feels different on the skin. The first was a garden of statues. This is a mouth. On the other side is darkness and the stink of not minus air. My foot hits stone not made for feet, and my balance hurts. Behind me, 3 sets of steps, then 5, then more. We are going in after all. Humans hate not knowing enough to live with it. The chamber blooms to torches without sound. The walls here are closer, sweat slick, the rock veined with something that looks like old glass. On the far side of the chamber is a door, and beyond the door is a promise that the hall will keep telling its story whether or not we like our part in it. I think of the commandments. I think of the bowl. I think of the fire choosing to go out after the last light, and how the door only liked us once we proved we were the sort of people who could hold their eyes in a world that invites looking away. Worship, praise, Approve. Keep close, Mr. Song says. Keep alive, I answer, because I am a man who cares about editing. We go. The door opens on a stair cut into the rock. The stair goes down. Of course it does. I touch the hilt of a knife I sharpen on a chipped plate this morning because we are that kind of poor, and I smile without teeth. Faith is not a thing I have. It is a thing I do. So I do. Stairs that go down teach your knees a new language. We keep the man with the tourniquet between us. He bites a strip of leather and rides his breath like a small boat in big water. Juhi's hand never leaves the air an inch above his thigh, warm threads from her palm in quiet pulses. Mr. Song takes point, the box under his arm is square of brass rumor. Counting becomes a superstition. I count shoulders, then backs, then breaths. I get to 19 bodies that move under their own decisions. 20 if you include the man who moves because we move him. We started with more. The air has a taste like old batteries. The stairs pour us into a low room, round as a coin. The ceiling crowds the crown of my head, even the tall tank has to angle his neck. In the center, a plinth of black stone, square as a courthouse. On top of it, a shallow basin wrought in hammered bronze, green at the lips where hands have touched it too often or not at all. Above, the basin etched into the ceiling in letters big as windows. None pass, empty Midas handed. There is a little drawing next to the words, the kind a child would make if a child drew in a scale, 2 plates balanced on a blade of light. Donations? Mr. Kim says too loud because fear makes seers lie. Money, someone suggests, hopeful the way gamblers are hopeful when they have already lost enough to go home sober. We try coins. They click and sit. The scale does not twitch. The line above us does not blink. Weapons, them, a dagger with initials. A ring used as knuckle armor, a cut minus down spearhead. The basin receives them like a bored clerk receiving paperwork and files them under nothing. Empty minus handed, Mr. Song repeats as if chewing sound might turn it to sense. Hands. Blood, the tank says, not unkindly. He says it the way men say storm when they smell rain and the sky is still telling jokes. We stand in silence until standing becomes a lie. Then a woman with burn scars across her steps up, takes a breath, and drags the edge of her knife across her thumb. It is not deep. It is enough. She holds her hand over the basin. Her blood threads out and bells against the bronze. 1, 2, 3. The scale sighs down a hair, just enough to teach us hope. No one cheers. We line up. It takes less than a minute for the room to discover another rule. A man gets impatient, drags deep across his palm, gives too much. The scale drops farther for him than it did for the scarred woman. Proportion is not fair. Proportion is just. Small cuts, Jew, he says. You don't need to be clever. You need to be alive. We learn to prick, not carve. The basin writes a quiet metal song. The scale moves like a minute hand drunk on a clock that lost its job. The words above us remain. None pass, empty Midas handed. The second line brightens under the first as if we have unlocked the right to understand the part of the demand the room tried to say politely first. Life is what you hold. I hate poetry, Mr. Kim whispers. It's almost funny enough to be funny. We keep feeding the bowl. The world narrows to the blade of a knife, the beat of a drop, the small bravery it takes to give hurt to yourself on purpose. The tank's big thumb looks small when it bleeds. The fidgeter can't keep the knife straight. I hold his wrist and guide the steel as if we're learning to shave. When my turn comes, I nick the pad of my forefinger and it stings all the way up my arm. The basin receives me without comment. A childish part of me wants the room to say thank you. The childish parts of me are often the smartest. The scale stops moving at a place that is almost done. We're on through the uninjured, then the Ray-Midas injured, then the ones who try to stay in the back and be scenery. It is not enough. A thin red scum rings the bowl like rust masquerading as a crown. The scale hangs unimpressed. How much more? Someone asks the ceiling. The ceiling has long practice ignoring people it can crush. Measure, I say, because math is a comfort when gods are not. Estimate the average drop, count the ticks. The scale solves my sentence by itself. It slides down another hair with no new blood in the bowl. For a second, I think the room has learned mercy. Then I see the man with the tourniquet, face white enough to be an accusation. His thigh has opened again. Blood beads and crawls, disobedient as a cat. Juhi presses a sound in her throat that has no words in it. It wants living parts, she says, eyes on the bowl. It will keep wanting until it decides it has had enough. What counts as a part? The fidgeter asks as if a vocabulary might help. The door on the far side of the room answers. It's a door in the sense that a steel jaw is a door. 2 plates of metal like dark bread. Between them, a gap you could pass through if you weren't attached to the idea of having a whole body at the end of the passage. Sensors, the tank says, pointing with his chin. In the jams, set back where shadows try to dress them, a scatter of little lenses and black beads. It wants to weigh what we give. We gave, the scarred woman says quietly. It didn't take. Mr. Song has been staring at the scale, not the door. He sets the brass box down on the floor with the care of a father setting down a sleeping child, then loosens his belt and slips it free in one smooth motion. The fidgeter laughs because sometimes the body thinks humor is a tourniquet. Not for me, Mr. Song says, and the fidgeter stops laughing. Don't, I say. We can cut fingers. We can, Mr. Song agrees. And then we can run out of fingers and still not have the door, and the door will have us. He wraps the belt twice around his upper arm and cinches, then tucks the end in with the air of a man who has done this 100 times, which he shouldn't have and has. The muscle bulges. The skin goes wrong. He flexes his hand once, twice, and each flexes an apology to a future that won't contain that hand. Song Jui says, a syllable like a sob that didn't get permission. You, he says to me, and it takes a second to realize he is addressing me with a word that is not my name and is more intimate for the absence. Hold this here. He shows me where to press. I put my weight on the artery with the heel of my hand and feel life try to move under it like a fish that knows the line is too tight to break. He breathes and fours the way he taught me by the blue fire. He keeps looking at the bowl. Blade, he says. The tank puts a hatchet in Mr. Song's other hand without being asked. It's clean. The tank keeps his tools clean. The world is often made out of small decencies like that. Now, Mr. Song says, and no one moves. He smiles then, which is wrong of him, because it cajolesses the universe into liking him, and the universe is a sucker for charm, and if the universe starts liking him now, it might decide to keep him. Jinwoo, he says. My name is not a mercy in his mouth. It's an order. Count for me. I count. 1, I say, and onto he swings because he knows people flinch on 3. He had the tank push a plank under his arm as a block. The first bite takes bone halfway. The second finishes. He makes no sound. You could call a scream. He makes a sound. You could call a marriage of pain and pride. The room goes quiet in respect despite itself. Juhi is already there with a tourniquet of her own and her light, and the skill of a person who has learned how to keep the blood inside when the body has new doors to let it out. Mr. Song sits down on the floor as if choosing to. I am holding something. It takes a second to realize it's hand. It weighs almost nothing and everything. I put it in the basin. The scale slides the rest of the way down as if the world was waiting for a gesture instead of a sum. The door's jaw loosens. The plates open like a book learning a better ending. No one claps. Clapping would be a language for after, and we are still in the thick of before. We bind Mr. Song. We do it neat. The neatness is a devout act. He is gray minus white and sweating, the way statues sweat in summer. He breathes and fours. His eyes meet mine, and he nods once you picked up what I put down. You will keep carrying it until I ask for it back. Who else? The fidgeter whispers as if the door might hear greed and want more because of it. No more, the tank says. We paid. He's right. The room has the look of a thing that has eaten enough for now. The line above the basin fades to old stone. The scale hangs neutral as Switzerland in a history book. We file through. The door does not hurry us. It doesn't need to. We hurry ourselves. The corridor beyond is shorter than the one we came down, like the room believes in easing after a price. That's how addicts work too. We go single file because that's what the walls want. The air smells like a storm when you're underground, no rain, just the rumor of it. The brass box under Mr. Song's remaining arm hums once, a little hungry purr. What is it? I ask before I remember that nobody knows. Proof, he says. Or bait. What's the difference? I ask. Who's holding it, he answers, and the box hums again like it appreciates being talked about. The corridor opens into a rectangular chamber with a floor set in long stone ribs, like somebody laid 100 bridges side by side. Between the ribs gaps. Not big at first glance. Big enough to take a leg if your foot goes wrong. At the far end, another of those absent-minded stone doors, dark as disapproval. In the middle of the ribs, 3 statues stand with shields raised. Their metal is not the clean museum kind. It's the street kind, pitted and scarred, the kind that has already done work and wants more. Each shield is tilted a little, left or right, the way men do when they decide which side to kill. Walk the beams, Mr. Kim says, eager to contribute something that isn't blood, and steps onto the first rib. Nothing bad happens. He takes another step. Still nothing. He looks over his shoulder, and level-minded smiles in that way men do when they're proud of not being dead. He takes a third step. The first statue moves, so fast it erases the lie of stone. Its shield slams forward. There is a sound like a building swallowing a syllable. The impact doesn't cave Mr. Kim's chest, the impact makes the rib under him jump, and his feet misjudge, and his leg goes into the gap up to the thigh. He shouts a word that has no God in it and tries to pull himself up. The shield rises again. I move because moving is a light rained by accident. I hit the rib to columns to the left, bounce to the right, and land beside him in a crouch that makes my knees write a formal complaint. My hand finds his collar. The shield kisses air where his head was, and I feel the rush of it in my hair. The sound is a polite reminder that heads are optional. We lurch back together. He gets the leg out. The shield pauses, deciding whether to be bored or thorough. It chooses bored. It returns to its stilt. We watch them, I say. not the gaps, not our feet, him. Again, the scarred woman says, again with the looking, things like being seen, I say. They get sentimental. Or careful, we test the theory with a rope. We borrow belts until the rope is a thick snake. The tank goes first, eyes on the nearest shield. The shield twitches, then doesn't. He moves like a heavy man learning ballet at gunpoint. The rope is our conversation between ribs. When the second statue tries to feint with its shield, he doesn't blink. He is not a blinking man. We make the crossing in choreography. The rope goes forward and back. The eyes go left and right. The shields remember their job and then forget it because they are being watched, and being watched makes some kinds of violence shy. It almost works for everyone. On the last rib, my knee slips. I correct. The last statue is waiting for that. The way a good opponent is just a patient listener with armor. The shield hammers the rib. My shin bounces. Pain bites and holds on. I keep my gaze on the shield because I have learned what the world demands of me today. It demands attention without the relief of delight. The tank calls me forward by the back of my jacket before the shield can choose generosity. My breath returns in cheap installments. Juhi's hand arrives and lays cool along my shin. The pain goes down to a murmur. I'm okay, I say. You're not, she says. But you obey. The door at the far end does not require blood this time. It requires pattern. A grid of 30-6 tiles, 9x4, rises from the floor like teeth teaching math. Each tile bears an etched sigil that looks like a letter in a language someone wrote in the dark. Above the grid, a line. Honor the hymn. Behind us, faint as if it comes through stone and memory both, the echo of the instruments from the first hall rises and falls once as if to remind us it has sheet music we can't see. It wants us to play. The fidgeter says, not with hands, the tank answers. With feet. We tripe patterns. The grid doesn't punish wrong steps with blades. Yet, it records them with light that goes the wrong color, the color of no. When we hit a tile that matches something in the unheard melody, the light goes the right color, the color of keep going. I can't hear it, I say, frustrated at my own skull. You can feel it, Ju, he answers. Where did the flute breathe? Where did the drum stop? Where did the horn hold? We are hunters, not musicians, but some of us were children who watched parades and learned when to clap. We argue the length of silences and the shape of notes with the same seriousness we used for tourniquets. We step and we step back. The grid glows wrong, then right, then wrong. We sweat and we pretend we like thinking. It is the scarred woman who solves it by accident and attention. She steps onto a tile no one liked and the light flares correct. We all look at the tile as if the tile will confess its reasons. It's wet, she says, and points. There, faint as a whisper, you can't be sure you heard a dampness in the carved grooves no one else's tile has. She touches it and brings back a finger shiny as though touched by spit. The room cheats in our favor as often as it cheats against us. Someone played here before us. The right tiles bear the faintest condensation, like breath. We use that as staff notation. We move fast because we have learned that generosity has a timer we can't see. Honor the hymn. We honor it. We walk the memory of a song the room has sung 100 times and never stop liking. The last step lands, the grid sinks flush, and the door loosens the way authority loosens when paperwork is complete. Beyond a corridor that curves right, then left, the way stories do when they're pretending to be fair. Mr. Song has gone paler. His sleeve is soaked through, black gone to ink. He smiles when he sees me looking, and I hate him for it because it wastes energy. Rest, I say. We rest where resting isn't graded, he says. Not here. We walk. The curve spills us into a chamber that breathes heat. At first I think it is another bowl of fire. It isn't. It's a room full of little suns, each the size of a coin, floating at head height and lower. Some drift, some snap place to place like thought. The floor is dark glass, polished to mirror. On the far wall, an inscription written in a hand, I recognize the runes. Do not step where you lie. I stare at the floor. My reflection stares back, a smear of a man. The suns above me paint him with points of light. Wherever the lights touch ground, they become little coins of brightness. I see where I am. The room tells me not to put my feet there. That's rude. The fidgeter says, we are everywhere. Not if we move correctly, the tank says, already calculating the way rectangles of shadow intersect with light. We learn a child's game at adult stakes. We move in lanes that light hasn't claimed yet. When a coin of brightness snaps down where breath just was, we freeze and breathe smaller. The room laughs in warm gusts. We ask it not to. Halfway across, the rules change. They always do when you start to enjoy fairness. The lights that move start to follow motion, just slow enough to teach you hope. They drift after wrists. They stalk knees. They love hair. Slow, I say. We go like we are very old and have all the time left. Being careful is a charge the room taxes. People are not good at slow when the fast parts of their heads are on fire. Mr. Kim rushes a step. Your loved ones always rush on train platforms when you are late. In the room makes him a pool of coins where his reflection is strongest and asks him to lie down in it. He doesn't argue well. The tank calls him up by the back of his vest and leaves a stripe of melted fabric behind. By inches, by insults, we get to the door. The inscription on this one is different. It is smaller. It is a private whisper of a line. Only those who trust the door may use it. Dislike, the fidgeter says, not bravely and not cowardly. Deep, deep dislike. There is a handle. It is a ring of black iron, rough under the fingers. I take it because I am already not a whole person and weighs the room help tray. When I pull, it doesn't move. When I push, it doesn't move. When I wait, it thinks. Mr. Song's hand, his remaining one, settles on the ring next to mine. On 3 and 2, he says, and I smile despite myself. We pull the way men pull when they are more stubborn than physics. The ring laughs, saddles in iron. The door has its own ideas about how doors should behave. Something inside the wall clicks the way a guard clicks a pen to stay awake. It wants wait, the tank says. And promise. You can promise? The scarred woman asks. You can make the shape of one, he says, and kneels and sets his hand on the floor. It's not a religious posture. It's a man telling the world, I am here, and I intend to be. Everyone, Mr. Song says, and one by one we make shapes of promise. Palms down, hands up, eyes on the hard thing that has the power to tell us yes. The ring loosens. We put our backs into it. Stone moves inch by expensive inch. Here is the part where the room shows you its teeth. At halfway, a second mechanism sings awake under the floor. A counter I didn't know was a counter lights along the threshold, 6 little windows filled with sand. Each window starts to drain. Plates, I say, at the same moment the tank says waits, and we are both right. Along the inside edge of the room, 6 depressions iris open, each the size of a human foot. It wants 6, the scarred woman says. Again, it loves that number, Mr. Kim says, and manages to make it not funny at all. We set 6 people on 6 plates. The sand drains slower. The door groans in gratitude and moves another inch. At that inch, a 7th plate opens, sheepish about arriving late to a party. You liar, the fidgeter tells the geometry of the room. You said 6. It doesn't talk, the tank says. It lies with math, the fidgeter answers. We do what we did before we choose. The tank, the scarred woman. Mr. Kim, because courage repeats when told it did well earlier. A healer, not Jew, he, because we have more than one lucky day. A quiet archer who has said 6 words today, and all of them were good. Me, I take the last plate. The glass under my boot hums. The sand in my window hesitates like a man at a crosswalk who isn't sure the light is for him. It drains slower. The door moves another grudging inch. Go, Mr. Song tells the rest. He is not on a plate. He is at the ring with both nothing and everything in his left sleeve. He is very pale. He grins like he owes the room a debt he will pay in swagger as long as it will take it. Go where? The fidgeter asks. Through, Mr. Song says and jerks his chin toward the space we've made that could fit a person if the person didn't mind stone touching both shoulders at once. We're on a relay, one at a time. A body slips through. The door tries to close, offended by our survival. The plates argue for us. The sand drains down. The window's empty. When a window empties, the plate under that person warms. A polite little warning, you are done working for the room. Now the room wants to employ you in other capacities. When the tank's window empties, hear oars like that is a thing he can throw at a wall. It isn't. He steps off the plate to get to the door to help because helpfulness is an addiction to. The door tries to eat his shoulder for lunch. He steps back onto the plate the way you return to a bad relationship because the timing is wrong to leave. People go through. The door moves. The sand drains. The window's empty. The room runs out of patience, slow as snowmold. 3 remain on plates, the scarred woman, me, and Mr. Kim. Everyone else who can be through is through. He stands on the far side of the threshold with her hands up like a referee at a fight between a city and a man. The tank stays half minus turned toward us, ready to argue physics with his muscles if necessary. Switch, the scarred woman says to me. You go. I'll take your plates, and his. You can't take 2, Mr. Kim says, and laughs because sometimes men laugh when the math of their bodies is impossible and the body refuses to appreciate it. We have seconds. The sand in my window draws a last thin line down the glass. The door gives a creak I don't like the color of. Jianwu, Mr. Song says. It's the way he said my name before the hatchet fell. It's a key that fits the lock of me the first try. Aho, I say, because the sentence came to live in me hours ago when the bowl and the room taught me what finishing looks like. You go. He opens his mouth to argue. I step on his words with mine. You can carry the box. You can carry the story. I can carry this. He hates it. He loves it. He nods like a man agreeing to an unfair price because the alternative is losing the shop. Count, he says. Always, I say, and smile because if the room is going anyone, it is not going to be me and I can afford the recklessness of a joke. We switch. The scarred woman slides to my left plate at a run, and the glass under our feet hums a higher note, the way wires do when too much current rides them. Mr. Kim edges toward the seam of the door, and the world makes a sound like two trains passing. The sand in my window is a thought thick. The door is an inch from fairness. I meet Juhi's eyes through the wedge of light we made, and she shakes her head once, fierce as a razor. It's no and yes, and I'm sorry, and don't, and thank you, and I will remember your name in my mouth until I can't talk anymore. Go, I tell Mr. Song, and he goes because he honors orders when they come shaped like love. They pass. One, then two, then the last. The door tries to close like a book offended by its own chapter. The plates shiver under our boots. The sand in my window says 0. Now, Mr. Song says from the other side, a sound through stone. Now, I echo and step off. The door bites, not like an animal, like a god who has learned instruments and hands, and the taste of men who thought they understood words. The scarred woman eyes and clears the threshold with the elegance of a choice that hurt to make. Mr. Kim slips. I shove him with my whole life, and he goes, a paper boat under a boot, and the door speaks in wait. I am inside the room when it decides it is done being generous. There is a moment you can count in half seconds where the world offers you a deal, stay flat, and maybe live as part of the architecture. I take it. The door slams down and makes dust out of our noise. On the other side, silence. Then a hand, small and furious, slaps the seam where the door isn't door anymore. Juhi. The sound is the shape of her saying my name without saying anything. He, I tell the stone, because stone is a good gossip and will carry a message if you are kind to it. Keep them moving. The room under the door breathes out satisfied. The plates retract. The windows go dark. A line appears on the far wall written in the polite sarcasm of all these rooms. Those who remain are recognized. Recognize me later, I tell it. Open now. It doesn't. It opens something else. On the left side of the room, a small door I did not see before is an inch. Not a door for a group. A door for one. A feeling lives behind it. It is not heat and it is not cold. It's the sensation of a number finding another number and deciding to share a house. I have time to think about dying. I have less time than that, really. But thinking is what my head does when it can't count. I think about Mr. Park's laugh that went out like a match when the BB raced it. I think about the man with my belt around his thigh. I think about my mother's bills folded twice, then folded again as if making paper smaller makes the math kinder. I think about the blue. I think about eyes and holding, and how faith today was not belief. It was patience, carved into minutes, blade into bowls, held against doors. I pick up Mr. Song's hatchet because I am still the kind of man who believes in tools even when gods write the operating manual. I walk to the small door and put my ear to it. It hums like wire in wind. Okay, I tell the room with the confidence of a liar. One more. I pull. The small door opens like it has been waiting 20 years to do the easiest thing in the world. The space beyond is not black. It is an ultraviolet that leaves on the back of your tongue. It smells like something clean, dying, and deciding that is fine. Jian Wu, the stone says, except the stone doesn't talk and I am very tired. I step through. The floor on the other side is a suggestion of floor the way grace is a suggestion of forgiveness. The walls are closer than your secrets. At the center of the chamber, a pillar of glass climbs like a thought someone forgot to write down. Inside, the pillar flickers. Lines. Boxes that bloom and die. Symbols that refuse to sit still. The sound like a choir that never inhaled. A last inscription hangs in the air itself, no stone to hold it. If you will work, I will teach you. Work. I laugh. It is not a kind sound. I have done nothing but work since the world pointed at me and said you. Work bought rice. Work bought medicine. Work bought the right to be afraid in rooms that hate men. I hate the room back for that. I love it a little too. What do I need to do? I ask the light. It answers the way the world has answered me since I was old enough to knock with tasks. The pillar opens a square of itself like a mouth. A panel slides forward, its surface warm, its edges a geometry I trust because it doesn't flirt. Letters crawl across it and pin themselves there like moths at last rest. State your name. State your will. State your price. I don't ask who's writing. I know a contract when one hums. My name is Sung Jun Woo, I say. The sound of it steadies the room. Names are cargo. They keep you from tipping in weather. My will is to live and to make the lives around me less likely to be erased. My price. I stop there because this is where stories get cruel. Prices are not always paid in money. I look at my hands. They are both still attached. One day they won't be. One already isn't in the sense that one belongs to a bowl now. I look at the door. On the other side, a healer with a furious hand is breathing in force because the man who taught us both to do that is maybe teaching her again right now. My price is time, I say. All of it until there isn't any. The panel tastes the answer and accepts it. The light inside the pillar organizes itself like soldiers learning their position for parade. Boxes a line. Line 2. A new set of letters leans into legibility. Acknowledged. Accepted. Commencing. The pillar opens like a rib cage deciding. It is ready to let air in. Outside. On the other side of the door that made promises and kept them, people I did not know this morning are keeping me alive by assuming I am the kind of man who will not waste their faith. Inside, a machine that is a prayer and a prison both asks me if I like the shape of the future enough to file papers to enter it. Teach me, I say. The light says yes. The light doesn't blind. It instructs. I stand where the pillar opens like a rib cage and the room smells like lightning that forgot the storm it came from. Words float again. No carved stone to hold them, no wall to blame. Just text that knows how to be present without weight. Protocol a witness. Do not merely see. Count. Name. Hold. Fine, I tell the light, because talking helps me. Believe my mouth still belongs to a person and not to a room. Teach. The panel slides toward me warm as if it has lived in pockets. A grid breathes across, its surface 9 squares, then 16, then more. Each square fills with a pulse, bright minus dark, all out of sync. A chime ticks in the air, not quite a second, not quite anything human clocks would honor. State what does not belong. Anomalies, I say. Counting becomes a rope. I pick the pulse out that skips on the 5th, the square that lingers when it should let go, the one that is a fraction early like someone in a choir who loves the song too much to obey it. The chime accelerates. The pulses fall out of their bad habits or invent worse ones. The pillar is trying to teach my attention to breathe with a different lung. I breathe with it. Twice the grid tricks me. Once with a square that matches everything else so perfectly my eye slides over it. Then I realize perfect does not belong because rooms hate perfection in the same way streets hate train. I say its name. The second time, I reached a point and hear a voice that is not the room say my name the way a miracle would jingle. I don't turn. I name the square that cheats us with familiarity. The voice is a memory's dagger, the room is kind enough to use it. The panel warms under my hands like approval that doesn't have to like me to keep me alive. Acknowledged. You will not always be brave. You will be attentive. Good, I say. I can afford that more often. Protocol be mend. Give what is yours that can return. The scaffold unfurls inside the pillar lines of light like broken lattice. The panel cools, then warms again, and the warmth isn't heat now, it's hunger. I hold my palm over the surface the way Juhi holds her palm over torn flesh. My skin prickles. The scaffold's gaps glow when I exhale slow. Take it, I say. Take what I can spare. It does. Not blood, the room has already had its fill of that. Time, the thing I offered. Minutes drag out of me like threads through a needle. I sway and straighten. The scaffold closes notch by notch. A strand misaligns. I pause, breathe, press. The gate of repair becomes muscle memory measure. Meet, mend, rest. My head aches in the way heads ache when something is learning inside them that didn't ask first. When the lattice seals, letters fall like feathers. You understand price. You will spend what matters. Until I run out, I whisper. You will rest better, or you will die. Honest teacher, I say, and almost laugh because honesty is rare in rooms that kill. Protocol see move. Predict. Arrive. Survive. The floor turns traitor kindly. Paths of light stamp themselves on the glass, then slide, then vanish, then appear apace to the left. Some are decoys, bright and wrong. Some are faint and right. They have a beat. It's the beat the drum in the first hall used when it wanted us humble. My legs remember it without my permission. Not speed, I tell my feet. Consistency. I step when the room wants me still, and I am punished with a harmless slap of light on my shin that promises to be less harmless next time. I step when the room wants me moving, and I am rewarded with a lane that opens like apology. The map changes. The less in doesn't. I move until sweat has the courtesy to salt my lips. I move until my breath is the rope that counts for me when numbers stop licking my mouth. Acknowledged. You will arrive where you intend more often. More often is the kindest phrase I've heard all day. Protocoled in measure. Choose correctly when you are too slow for perfect. 3 figures bloom from the pillar, thrown in light, the child minus, sized outline, a broad minus shouldered outline, a thin one whose outline shakes. Under each, 3 bars stack themselves. Pulse, breath, heat. The bars drain at different speeds. The panel lets me drag small reservoirs toward them. The reservoirs empty when I am greedy. The bars pulse faster when I dither. Somewhere, the door remembers how to become a door and doesn't. Try again, I say. You want me to pick who to lose? No. You will minimize loss. Correctly. The child's pulse stutters, the broad shoulders mask an internal bleed that will matter later. The thin one's breath is a lie that looks serious because people are good at performative dying. I feed the pulse first because nothing else matters without it. I feed the breath next because it is the speed of oxygen that governs whether a brain lies to itself again tomorrow. I leave the heat to shiver because shivering is life fighting for itself. Bars climb. A horn sounds far away in the pillar the way triumph sounds when you have learned not to trust it. When I overcorrect. When I give too much to the big man's heat because I remember a tank's roar. The child's bar drops and a quiet notation writes itself over my shame loss variance increased. Again, I say, and the pillar, bless it, agrees that repetition is love in a cruel world. We're in the exercise until my errors stop being dramatic and start being small. The pillar concedes without smiling. Acknowledged. Mercy is a resource. Do not spend it to avoid guilt. I know, I say. I'm learning. Protocolly name. State the one thing you will not trade. The question lands heavier than the hatchet did. My mind inventories secrets like a thief counting exits. Pride. No. Pride buys too little. Pain. No. Pain is currency you end up spending whether you like it or not. Safety. No. Safety is nice, but it's not a god. People I promised, I say. If I give them up to buy anything for myself, teach me to break instead. The pillar warms in a way that tells the truth. Acknowledged. Price index adjusted. The light changes color. Not a theatrical shift of mood. The chamber feels closer without moving. The panel withdraws, leaving my palm tingling. I can hear something on the other side of the sealed door, or I can hear the idea of something. Voices, maybe. The cadence of Juhi's anger, which sounds like a prayer rude enough to work. Protocol, if return. Path will be provided. Power will not be given. Capacity will. Not complaining, I say. Gifts draw people faster than knives. The small door opens further. Its hinge a polite sigh. Beyond a corridor that slopes up and left, the way rivers go when they refuse to respect maps. The new sense the pillar braided into me throbs twice, like a blind man stick tapping a head. I follow the taps. They are not sound. They are permissions. The floor is ordinary glass until the tap says otherwise, and then it is a mouth. I skirt mouths. I step on teeth I think like water, find the gradient, go where going is cheap. The corridor ends in a slit of stone too narrow to be decent. It opens on a gallery. Above a space I recognize the chamber with the coins of light, the mirrors that lie. Down there, the door we forced and the plates that bribed it remember our feet. Beyond that door's far side, the new room yawns. The team has made it. They are smaller from here and more precious. Mr. Song is hunched where a normal man would be following. Someone has strapped his stump to tight and he's chosen numb over believe. The tank herds people through space with a hand like an oar. Jew, he stands at the new threshold like a vow in shoes. Hey, I say, to no one who can hear it. The word comes out of me like a laugh after grief. There's a stair cut for maintenance along the gallery. The room doesn't mean it to be found. The tap tells me where the third step has no intention of holding anyone today. I step wide. The stair curls me down into air that smells like old copper and newer fear. At the bottom, I keep to the wall. The tank sees movement and lifts a palm that could argue with a tree. I lift mine back. He squints. Jew, he turns. Her mouth opens to begin a word she probably planned to throw at the door. But the word dies, and a newer one takes its place. Jin. Later I say, because later is a religion I intend to practice. Everyone in? Everyone who can be, she answers, eyes hot and wet at once. Song? Still teaching me, Mr. Song says, and smiles that wrong smile that coaxes luck out of hiding. I want to hug him. I settle for taking the brass box back into my arms so he can stop pretending it's light. It purrs once against my ribs, a cat making an inventory of bones. What's next? The fidgeter says, tell me it's a riddle about a flower. I could use a flower. It won't be a flower, the tank says. It will be a number with teeth. He's right. We step into a hall that narrows us into honesty. The floor rises a fraction with each pace, so small it feels like pride at first. The ceiling lowers a hair, enough to make all men negotiate with themselves. At the far end, a ring of plinths circles a column of dark glass. On each plinth, a blue flame fit to a small lamp 30-6 and all spaced with miser's precision. The column's base bears the text I already know with a different mount. Keep the lamps lit. The second line writes itself, only when we are near enough to be blamed by it. Light fails where eyes fail. Again, the scarred woman says, almost fawn through the rasp of exhaustion. Always with the looking. Rooms like attention, I say. They think it's love. Each lamp has a tiny iris under it, like the plates at the door, slender as a coin slot. When I step close, the flame flutters. Fear or appetite. A mirror above the ring shows the ceiling and the lamps and our pinched faces in a circle that looks like ritual. If I let my gaze drift off my lamp to see all of us, the flame leans and bends. When I look dead center, it fat tins. 30-6 lamps, 30-6 gazes, 30-6 bodies with gazes inside them. We don't have 30-6. Counting becomes grief again. We have 19 with hands and eyes that work well enough. 20 if you count the man whose thigh we are carrying on a stretcher made of belts and stubbornness, but he needs to breathe more than lamps do. It wants us not to blink, Mr. Kim says, and already his eyes look like desert. Blink in shifts, I say. Breathe in fours. We build rules out of breath because breath built us. We set positions one person per lamp where we can, then we double where we must. I take two opposite each other. Bad geometry. Because nobody else can keep that angle without tripping on a body. The tank anchors a gap where 3 lamps sit too close to be decent. Jew, he stands between 2 and helps 3. Her gaze is a blade on a string. Mr. Song takes one and then stubbornly takes a second because he refuses math the way he refuses death politely, but with stamina. On my 4 I say, blink on 2, switch on 3, correct on 4. I count. We move our eyelids like we are surgeons in a thunderstorm. The lamps thicken and lean and swell. The column of dark glass in the center brightens tiny letters that make my stomach talk about hunger again. Proceed. A wet click in the floor. The ring rotates a degree. Every lamp is now a stranger to the body guarding it. People lurch, correct, cuss in 9 languages, and we stitch the circle back together with focus and hate. Again, I say, find your new. The ring rotates at intervals with no love 4 patterns. Sometimes 1 notch, sometimes 3, sometimes lazy, sometimes spasmodic. Or ride it like fishermen ride a sea they resent but keep marrying. When the room realizes we are learning its trick, it adds more. The lamps begin to dim if a gaze holds too long, punishing perfection again. They want the kind of attention that moves without itching. They want trust. They want this to be dance instead of siege. Left eyes only, I say. Then right. Keep the head still. Paint with vision. We paint. We guard. We bleed a little through the eyes because salt makes everything honest. A man near the far side falters. His knee buckles. I swing my second gaze across to cover his lamp for 2 beats and throw my voice across the ring like a rope. Up, I have you. Blink now. Back. He's back. The flame swells and forgives. The column's letters swell from small to legible. 30 left. A counter then. Not tight. Lamps. It will make us hold until only 5 fat ones burn, or until we fall and the room gets to write a sad poem about us. Rotate, I say. Every 5 numbers we switch positions around the ring to rest I minus angles. Song, you stay. Tank, anchor, north and south. Jew, he, float and fix. She nods with the fierce economy of a metronome. Mr. Song's grin looks like someone peeled it, their sweat right snaps down his neck. We're rotate. I pass Mr. Song and touch my shoulder to his for a beat. Contact says what the mouth shouldn't. When I reach my next lamp, it's a jittery flame that likes spatic. I teach it my voice. Stay, I say, like to a skittish dog. The ring rotates a full quarter without warning. Anyone doing the wrong thing with their feet now is dead instead of asset. We stumble. We do not fall. The fidgeter laughs a high, cracked laugh, and the sound shivers my lamp ice-cold and it rebounds loyal again. 20 minus 5 left. The room is honest about one thing, it is tiring on purpose. The lamp's like eyelids that are not there. The irises under the bases open, close, sip air, change pressure. The flames lean into that breeze. Our brains lean against it. The world reduces to a thing like this: keep a small blue creature alive with your presence. 15 left. We start losing the not to neglect but to cruelty. The ring bangs once and the shock ripples through the base of the lamp's 6 flare and 3 chuff out. The counter drops so fast I taste bile. Recover the nearest first, I say. Not yours. Nearest. People cheat on what belongs to them. We teach ourselves to love what is close instead. The flames we can save come back hard, the ones at the edge of the circle stayed ed. The counter stares at us like a blunt number. It's him. Almost, Mr. Song says. It's still a lie, and still true. He blinks on my count and his lamp wobbles. He blinks on the wrong count and the wobble becomes a fence. He holds and it forgives him. I realize I am chanting out loud. In 2, 3, 4. Blink. Out 2, 3, 4. Switch. 9. The ring rotates backward for the first time, pleased with itself. I adapt. We all do. Humans are eddies that hate to learn until they love it. 7. My eyes hurt like I rub them with salt and regret. I hum. The first hauls him under my breath, and the lamp takes on the rhythm the way babies take on the heartbeat under an old ceiling fan. I don't know if that's magic or nerves. I don't care. 6. The column warms the chamber with the light of numbers losing. Juhi steps between 2 failing lamps and splits her gaze perfectly for a sec, and she is a creature with more than 2 eyes. The healer who floated with her takes my old spot, and I take a failing one at the far corner by lunging like a baseball outfielder whose life is a cartoon where failure is an anvil. I catch it. It wells, blue proud. 5. The counter changes tone. It becomes an expectation. The ring rotates one last time, slow and mean. Hold, I say. Don't get heroic. Get exact. We get exact. Floor. I take Mr. Song second so he can go back to 1, because the color around his mouth is the kind that belongs to floors. He opens it to protest. I shake my head. He hates me correctly and obeys. 3. 1 fails because the man keeping it stares too hard at the failure happening next to him. The room punishes empathy. I slide my gaze and gift him 3 beats to fix the first problem. He does. I return. 2. The counter pauses there long enough that I wonder if the room is a conductor who loves an ending too much to land it. Then the last rotation hits and every lamp shivers like a horse under flies. Then we stand like men in rain who refuse to run because running won't change how you are. We hold. 1. The last lamp fat tins. The counter goes dark, the ring sighs and stops. The column unsticks a panel and slides it aside. The way a safe opens when it decides you look enough like the owner today. Don't move, I say, because rituals matter. We count breaths to 10. The lamps do not punish gratitude. When we step away, their blue holds for a handful of seconds and then slides down to a wisp, as if allowed to rest now that our eyes let them be ordinary. A corridor reveals itself behind the column, narrow, the stone on its edge shiny where hands have learned it for 100 years. The inscription above this one doesn't whisper or shout. It just speaks. Companionway. Be worthy of each other. Translation: the fidgeter says, voice raw. No idiots. We move. Mr. Song refuses the stretcher and leans on the tank, which is the same thing but feels like pride bought cheap. He walks near me and doesn't touch me, and it's the heaviest non-minus touch of the day. The companionway bends left, then climbs, then kneels. The air changes. Less metal, more wet stone. Far ahead, something breathes. Not us. Not the room. The dungeon itself may be settling into its chair to see how the show ends. We spill out onto a balcony over an amphitheater of rock. Tears descend to a floor where water glazes stone in a skin. At the center of the floor stands a statue unlike the others, no instrument, no sword, no shield. Its hands are open and empty, held out as if waiting to receive or to give. Its face is not blank. It is a suggestion of a face, features smoothed by fingers or flood, so that whatever you fear is what you see there. On the wall behind it, words, final proof, return what you took. We look at each other, then at the brass box under my arm, which hums once in a tone I do not like at all. I didn't take you, I tell it. You did, the hum says without need of letters. Everything we have is taken, the tank says softly. Breath, names, days. We borrow. We call it ours until someone with better handwriting disagrees. Mr. Song nods. He knows about handwriting. The amphitheater is a bowl for voices. Even without speaking, the box speaks. The statue's hands remain empty in a way that looks like a threat if you are feeling fragile, and a comfort if you are tired of holding too much. Trap, Mr. Kim says, because traps are a hobby with him now. Probably, I say. But the kind that punishes hoarding more than it punishes honesty. His eyes are on the box. Not greed, not fear exactly. A healer's calculation: if this saves more, I'll live than it kills. Then we pay. If not, then we sin. Let me, I say, and step down the tiers. The statue waits. The air is cold the way basements that remember old fires are cold. I stop a pace away, and the box through is my bones. What do we even take? I ask. A proof, a prize, a trap. A bell you ring so something turns its head. The pillar under my scheme taps twice. The permission sense. Like a friend reminding me I learned it to count right today. Return what you took, but not necessarily the brass. We took time. We took attention from the lamps and the doors in the rooms, and we fed it to survival. We took blood. We took a hand. My throat hurts before I speak. I speak anyway. I cannot give you Song's hand back, I say to the statue. He paid and we walked through his payment. I cannot give you Mr. Park's laugh. You erased it. I can give you the proof that I learned the lesson you wanted to sell for lives. I set the box on the stone between us. The statue's hands do not move. The box shivers like a dog who hears someone come up the walk and hopes it is the good person with the shoes it loves to steal. I take my palm, right, the one the panel taught, and press it to the cold left hand of the statue. It is like pressing my palm to a winter window that remembers summer. I return seconds, I say. Not enough. Mine. The pillar hum inside me shifts gears. The amphitheater hears nothing, but I feel the leak minutes spill off me like old stickers taking residue. I go light minus headed and keep my hand there. The statue warms. The box quiets. I returned it, I say. The kind you write when you call mercy wasted and still give it. The statue's hand closes around my fingers, not crushing, not gentle. The face that is not a face leans. The way people lean when they finally admit they heard you earlier and were just pretending to be far away. Take it, I tell the room. What I took was attention I didn't earn. What I took was luck I didn't pay for. Take it. Leave me with what I work. The statue lets go. The box under my palm is still. The amphitheater waits to see if the world prefers a flourish. It gets none. The words on the wall change. Proof accepted. Exit above. A seam appears high on the far side, one of those absent-minded stoners learning to be polite. The tiers we stand on shift, creating stairs where there were none a second ago. That's it, the fidgeter says, insulted on behalf of drama. That's it, the tank says, and he's right, and the relief in the room smells like rain that will actually fall this time. We gather. We lift the man with the belt and 3 new belts and Juhi's light. We file for the exit with the hunger of rats running toward the rumor of a pantry. Mr. Song takes the rear not out of pride, but from habit leaders are ballast as much as sails. At the seam, the absent-minded stone becomes corridor, and the corridors there tastes like streets and bad coffee. A breeze touches the sweat at my collar in a way that makes my body make promises about naps it will not keep. The light ahead is not torch. In this day, we step out of the dungeon into the gray of an afternoon that has decided to exist for us despite everything. For a breath, nobody talks. We stand under a sky that did not watch us earn it and blink like children brought out of a matinee to sun. Then the world remembers we owe it paperwork. Association men start toward us, pens cocked, a guild rep with teeth to be real composes a sympathy on his face that will expire when the photos stop. The girl in the beanie takes the shot that will get likes with a caption that makes us the wrong kind of myth. The gate behind us doesn't collapse the way some do in the stories. It hums. It learns our names by tasting the sweat coming off our coats. You okay? Jew, he asks me, which is not a medical question and not quite a lie either. No, I say, but I will be. Mr. Song leans into the tank's shadow and looks down at the place where the world ends just above his wrist. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to. The silence is a hand we put on his shoulder because we love him and because there is nothing else we can do in this part of the story. The brass box in my arms hardly weighs anything now. It purrs once, less a cat than a machine running its last cycle of the day. Return which he took, Mr. Kim mutters almost to himself. That was the trick. It always is, I say. We take and we pretend, keeping his own in. The rooms know better. The association guy clears his throat. Names, he says, pen ready. Casualties, salvage. Any unusual artifacts recovered. Later, the tank says, and the man actually has the good sense to look at the stump on Mr. Song's arm and swallow his next sentence. The girl in the beanie lowers her camera when she meets my eyes. For a second, the words I could say to her about making altars out of strangers. Line up. I let them pass. The pillar taught me to spend attention where it buys something. The gate hums again. It is not done with its day. Double, the fidgeter says as if we all forgot. We didn't. We walked through the double. We came back with fewer, with proof, with capacity. Go, ho, Mr. Song says, laugh minus size. Clean, eat, sleep in shifts. Report in the morning. We'll divide salvage when my head is not soup. He folds toward the curb and sits the way old statues sit. Eternal, resigned. He gives him a pill with a glare and a blessing. The tank begins the ugly joy of arguing with officials, so the injured can pass without paperwork making their blood go stale. I stand there in the ordinary open air and the pillar hum inside me clicks once like a latch tested. On my paw, where the statue held me, a faint geometry has decided to be ink. Not black, not blue, the color of math when it remembers being fire. Lines intersect. A tiny square sits at the center like a home. You okay? Ju, he asks again, softer. Her hand hovers near mine. She doesn't touch. She could. She doesn't. I learned something, I say. Useful, she asks. Expensive, I say, and we both know that's the same word now. At our backs, the black mirror breathes. The bus stop, the ramen place, the mother with a sack of oranges who doesn't know what we did for her afternoon. I choose forward. The others choose with me, not because I am leading, but because the world is oriented that way right now. As we move, the hum in my bones takes a new cadence, not instructions, not praise. A promise made in a voice that isn't a voice. If you will work, I will continue. I will, I tell it. Because I already paid down my first installment and I am not a man who has ever been allowed to default. We cross the street. The sky is a color I don't have a name for yet, the shade between relief and the next problem. I look up at it long enough to memorize it before life rearranges itself again. We don't celebrate. We disperse. The ramen place to blocks from the gate smells like salt and forgiveness. The tank takes 2 booths to himself and still has to angle his knees. Mr. Kim stares at his chopsticks like they're an exam. The scarred woman sits where she can see both the door and the kitchen, old habits riding shotgun. Juhi cleans and Ray wraps Mr. Song's stump with those precise hands that have decided shaking is for later. I stand because sitting feels like permission I haven't turned. The brass box is on the table like a placid animal. It purrs once, then subsides, polite now that the rooms have stopped making demands out loud. Eat, Jew, he says without looking up. It isn't a suggestion. I try. Noodles taste like rope that doesn't fight back. I swallow anyway. Work is fuel. Mr. Song watches me over steam and humor he doesn't have the blood to spend. You didn't get stronger, he says. You got clearer. I'll take it, I say. You'll need it, he says. He doesn't have to say why. The day knows. My phone buzzes against my hip with a cousin's timing. My sister 3 missed calls, a message that is just a photo of our mother asleep with a TV whispering the weather into her dreams. The IV poll is a quiet exclamation mark. I text back a picture of noodles with the caption "Alive." She replies with a row of hearts and one scolding face for good luck. The door jingles open and the street drifts in. It brings the chill a city gets after a thing happens that the city cannot decide how to feel about. A squad car idles without lights at the corner. The association's van is a mobile office clinging to the curb, printer already tired. The pillar inside my bones clicks once, not warning, not praise. A metronome clearing its throat. Time to go home, Mr. Song says. Report at 9. Don't let anyone sell you back your own courage for a membership fee. We file into gray. The sky has that late minus afternoon glaze that tells you the day plans to bruise but not break. The second gate is still there, sleepy as a cat when the sun shifts off its favorite patch. I get half a block before the hum changes. You feel it more than hear it. The street takes a breath that isn't the streets. The association van's roof antennae stiffen like hair on an animal's back. The black mirror of the gate darkens the way ponds do when a cloud likes itself too much. Again, the fidgeter says, a prayer disguised as a joke. Not the same, I say, and the pillar proves me right by tapping twice under my ribs. The air bends. Not much, just enough for the world to forget the ruler it was using. A shimmer appears at the mouth of the subway station, then over the bus shelter across Minus Street. Small, like first mistakes. The association men look frown, consult a protocol that was written for yesterday. The shimmering grows until it is large enough to be a word. Ripples, the tank says. A glass noise rings. The bus at the light trembles like an animal that smells fire. The ad board in the shelter flickers for half a second. It isn't selling noodles, it's selling entry. Move, I say, and my body has learned to translate that into a rhythm. Song, stay with the van. Chin, block cars. Tank, with me. Johi, with whoever is bleeding, she says, already not where she was. The shimmer at the subway mouth peels open like film that got too close to a projector bulb. Something pushes through that isn't a beast and isn't a statue. It's a geometry I dislike, jointed wrong, angles that keep trying to resolve to friendly, unfailing. 3 of them. Behind the bus shelter, a different wrong walks. Low, slick, like a wolf taught to move by a draftsman. People do what people do. Some freeze. Some run. Some film. I don't have power. I have capacity. Protocol C move says the place beneath my sternum, but good teacher taking attendance. I count, the grid, the street, makes crosswalks, curbs, the rhythm of the bus doors stuttering open because panic hit the driver the wrong way. I drawl ains with my voice. Left side behind the cart. Go. You two, hold up the tape, make it a gate. Take 5 pieces forward on my count. Now, we intercept the first of the wrongs with behavior, not bravado. The tank finds and steps to where the maps, as reward lives, the thing commits to where he was and not where he is. Its forelimb hits empty air and the shock of it Jay utters down the sidewalk. The scarred woman flows to my right and kicks a knee that isn't a knee. The thing's angles argue among themselves. The bus rolls half a foot. The driver remembers his hands belong to a person. The wolf minus shade pours up over the curb toward a kid staring into his phone to make sure this is happening. I arrive where I intend, which is a breath ahead of it. A knife is a small opinion in a big argument. Still, it has the decency to be present. I give the angle a reason to reconsider. It does, deciding to hate the ground for a second instead of us. Eyes, I shout, because some rules repeat and the city doesn't mind borrowing. Look at it. 10 bystanders do. The wolf's motion goes gummy. It shakes its head like a dog asked to do math. The scarred woman takes its choice away with 3 quick, respectful kicks. It fails with dignity. Protocol D measure. The bus has people. The subway mouth has more. The ripples are multiplying. Little tongues testing the air. A woman with an orange net bag has her foot between car and curb in a way that is a recipe for ruin when the car panics. A man is shouting about gods and has the lungs of a choir. A boy stands with his backpack on both shoulders like he didn't plan to run and won't. Pulse, breath, heat. My head updates the bars without asking me to see them. Choir lungs. Help me call people back. Or inches. Off the street now, please and thank you. You can shout at me later. Backpack. Hands on the rail, eyes on me, come when I say. Judy's light finds the bus's back steps like a hand in a theater finding your knee in the dark without knocking anything over. Her mouth counts to 3 and the panic near her gets smaller. The second wrong arrives with a wicker of air and the bad grace of a falling sign. It isn't a thing that bleeds. It's a thing that shatters and then remembers how to be whole. Every piece is a knife committed to the lifestyle. The tank meets it with a trash can lid he earns as a shield by simply believing it is one. It is. Sparks have to be let in to see what's happening and we decline. The shimmer above the bus shelter becomes a mouth, that size coins of blue light. They splatter on the asphalt the way the lamps did on the glass. A laugh gets out of me despite everything. Of course I say, stray rules. The coins of light make circles where feet shouldn't. The sign above the shelter glitches to a word that isn't a root name. Do not step where you lie. Crosswalk, I bark. We'll make our own bridge. Eyes on the coins nearest you. If one lands at your toes, do not be brave. Step back. We play the rooms game in air that smells like bus break and city rain. The crowd becomes quiet. People focus the way lamps like. The coins fizz and sulk. We move a ribbon of bodies across where harm wants to live and we deny it tenancy. A stroller will snags on a lip of asphalt, 3 hands lift, and the baby's laugh makes the room fail to be a room for a second and just be a street. The wrong geometry keeps coming, confident arrogance turning to irritated repetition. It learns we see it. It tries to be new. It stutters into wolf, then into blade rain, then into something tall and hollow that thinks its hollowness is a threat. I have seen emptiness with better posture. Don't hit its body, I tell the tank. Hits, it's timing. He does. He always could. He just needed someone to call the beat. The association finally starts earning its gas money. Tape goes up. Officers who know which end of a convoy to use hold people back with compliments. The guild rep in teeth hovers until the tank looks at him like a man looking at a problem he hopes will be a chair and not a question. Then the subway mouth changes. The ripple collapses in and out, and the out is bigger. The wrong geometry learns hunger. It pulls her into itself and tries to take our day with it. The black mirror at the original gate hums like a choir deciding to stand. Back, I show, all the way to the ramen shop. Now, the crowd receives the order because it fits in their mouths. They go. The bus driver stalls, and I can't blame him. His hands are trying to be birds. I take the steps two at a time, lean in, meet his eyes. In 2, 3, 4, I say, which is a joke and not a joke. Out 2, 3, 4. On 3, you move this forward 5 feet and then stop. 1, 2. He goes on 2, old pro. The bus heads where the map says it should. The ripple reaches where the bus used to be. It gets sair and not organs. It hates that. The pillar taps again. Not a command. An offer. Protocol be mend. Give what is yours that can return. Jinmu. Jew, he says behind me, and I hear the fight in my name. The I will drag you bodily from whatever you think you're about to do. I know, I say. Stay angry. It helps. I step to the mouth of the subway to the thresh of the ripple. I can see the scene now, a zipper of light with teeth the size of thumbnails. The city is a fabric being asked to be something else. I put my palm to it the way I put my palm to the statue earlier. It is cold in a way that lives in your teeth. It is sharp in a way that knows your list of birthdays. It asks in letters I can't read, and I answer in breath I can spare. I return seconds, I say. Not many. Why? The leak starts slow, then a steady thread. I feel my day drain. Not life. Just hours I was going to spend finding cheaper rice, arguing with landladies, watching trains arrive. The seam warms under my hand. The zipper remembers how to be shut. Enough, Jew, he says, in that tone healers use when your courage is trying to be stupid. Enough. Almost, I say, which is a lie and true. The ripple fights back by glittering. The glitter falls into my sleeve and makes spins and needles on the bones that belong to me. The wrong geometry tries to take advantage. The tank steps into the picture and becomes the wall a god would respect to avoid denting his knuckles. The scarred woman breaks a hollowed Allness's ankle out of habit. The zipper closes. The air forgets to hate us. The coins of blue go out the way candles do when you call a room safe. The ad board in the shelter sells noodles again, and they do not look like rope now. They look like energy you can have later. I stagger, which surprises me. My knees file a complaint. My palm lifts from where it was and leaves a tiny pattern in the air that lies for the length of a sigh and then isn't. On my skin, the geometry that chose to be ink brightens, warms, sits quiet. The association men approach like stylists at a haircut with cameras. Their paperwork has grown friendlier teeth. The guild rep opens his mouth and the Tang Kun Minus opens it with a look so bored it is art. You okay? Jew, he asks, third time a charm and a threat. Not yet, I say honestly. Soon. She checks my pupils with professional rudeness and then presses her thumb into the center of my palm where the lines intersect. It hurts in a way that has correct grammar. You gave time, she says. Borrowed, I say. Returned. You are the worst lender, she says, and she looks like she is going to yell for a week and also sit next to my bed until I fall asleep anyway. Mr. Song limps up with a smile trying hard to be his old one. Civilians intact. Property damage minimal. No fatalities. He sounds like a man reading a ledger that owes him money and finally paid it. Your hand. I start and stop because there is nothing useful to attach after it. It's not here, he says. We will learn to love other things. He looks at the brass box as if trying to decide whether to throw it into the gutter or adopt it. The box, having developed a sense of drama, is quiet. You kept standing, he says to me. That's the trick they never write down. I learned patience, I say. From a bull that thought it was God. He laughs, then winces. I will, I say and mean it. Home is a 1- bedroom that smells like laundry left in the machine half a day too long. The window unit travels a work song it doesn't get paid enough to sing. I shout until the water threatens to turn cold out of spite. I eat a banana that tastes heroic. The mark on my palm cools. The pillar inside me is quiet, as if exhausted too. I sit on the edge of my bed and look at the floor the way you look at a friend's face when you don't know what to say. My phone buzzes. My sister mom's awake. She asked if you ate. I did, I reply. Tell her it was good. The phone buzzes again. A different number, one I recognize the association. Debrief at 9 o'clock. The text says, also, inquiry re-unusual all artifact. It pastes in a photo of the brass box on a table that is probably the association's, probably under a camera, probably under 3 sets of eyes waiting to learn if it is a bomb, a bell, or a petition. I text back later. Then I pull on a hoodie and go to the hospital. Hospitals at night are temples practicing forgetting. The cafeteria is a rumor. The nurses' shoes are prayers. My mother sleeps with the TV narrating a weather pattern the window already knows. Her mouth is a line that isn't unhappy it's resting. I sit. I put my hand near hers without touching because machines watch and will beep if I get in their feelings. You would say I should take a safer job. I tell the room softly. You would call the work noble and tell me to get out of noble work if it keeps me from dinner. The mark in my palm warms like a coil in a cheap toaster. I open the hand palm up and look at the geometry. Lines cross like streets. The tiny swears its ets enter like a home. If you will work, I will teach you, the pillar said. I believe it. That doesn't mean I love it. Love is a separate set of math. My mother murmurs in her sleep. The word sounds like my name and not like it at all. When morning decides to exist, it does so rudely. Sun breaks the gray and paints the window with a color nobody ordered. I leave a note for a nurse who will read it out loud, even if my mother jokes that she can't hear it because I wasn't polite enough in grammar. The street outside is yesterday pretending to be new. The association wants words. The guilds want signatures. The blogs want a hero who will break in comments. The ramen shop wants the bowl back I didn't steal. The gate to blocks oversleeps like a tired dog. It wheels itself small like a shuffle of cards. I breathe in force and my day doesn't collapse. That feels like history and learning something. On my way to the debrief, my phone buzzes again. A number, I don't know, we saw what you did. The message reads, if you're tired of being earrang, come talk. I laugh, not kindly, not unkindly. I put the phone away. I am tired of too many things to list, and yet I am not done. I don't have power. I have capacity. The difference is patience and work. The difference holds doors and closes hippers and leaves you with your knees sore and your mouth saying thank you to a room you despise for teaching you well. At the corner, the crosswalk light blinks the little white person into existence. People step when it tells them to. A kid holds his mother's hand away, lamp flames like being looked at. The day is a collection of obedience, small miracles. I join it. When I reach the association steps, Mr. Song is there already, jacket on, sleeve neat, eyes alert. He looks at my palm, then at my face, then at the shape of my shoulders. He nods once. You'll keep working, he says. Until the math runs out, I say. He raises an eyebrow. Does it? Not if I can help it, I say. We go inside and sit where the fluorescent light makes a religion of ugly. We hand over our story. We take back the piece of it that matters. The brass box hums once, unwilling to be left out. Papers rustle. A printer complains. The world does what the world does after you survive it. It tries to make it tidy. It won't be tidy, but it will be ours. When it's done, I stand. Outside, the city wears mourning like a shirt borrowed from a friend. My palm warms once, companionable. The pillar inside my bones clicks. Not in order, an agreement. If you will work, I will, I say, and step into a day I didn't steal, a day I bought with minutes and a promise I intend to make being annoying by keeping.